Hey friends, welcome back to another video. It's your girl Meg, and in today's video we're going to be talking about my top foundation recommendations for people over 35, and we're talking about high-end and drugstore options. So there's something for everyone's budget in today's video. Not only that, I have a lot of different types of foundations to share with you today, so hopefully there's something that'll stand out to you that you're going to want to purchase and try for yourself. If that sounds good to you, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any other amazing beauty videos, and make sure to follow along on social media where I share a lot of attainable beauty stuff nearly every day. So let's get started. So everything that I'm talking about today is going to be linked in the description box below, and I will also list what shades I wear in these foundations in case you use me as a guide to shade match. If you have trouble finding your shade match, I will also link a source below that I like to use when I'm buying foundations online that helps me color match, and it's usually spot on every time. So everything I'm mentioning today is going to be very mature skin friendly. I am almost 40 years old. I'm 40 in June, so I'm almost there, which technically doesn't put me in like very mature, but I'm getting up there. I'm not 21 anymore. So a lot of foundations that I used to kind of gravitate towards in my 20s, and like the types of foundation that I used to gravitate towards, don't really work for me anymore. Just as a side note, I am very normal skin type. Like I don't get too dry, I don't get too oily, but I live in a very hot and humid climate, so I reach for things that wear really well. All these foundations that I'm going to talk about today wear really well and are great for humid climates, and then I'll tell you what I think which skin types are gonna like the most for these. I can see like the oily people really liking this, or the dry skin people really liking this. I've got 4 high-end foundations to share with you today and 4 drugstore. So the first foundation is technically not in this list, but I had to mention it as something where I feel like I've talked about it so much. This is truly chef's kiss when it comes to the most perfect foundation for me, and this is the Tom Ford Traceless Soft Matte Foundation. I'm wearing it today. It looks like a freaking Instagram filter. I'm not including in this list, but I will link a video that I am using this product in. You'll want to see it in action. It's just beautiful. Have to mention it. So the first one I think is going to be really great for all skin types, and it is just an iconic foundation, the Armani Luminous Silk. This is a medium buildable coverage. It looks beautiful on the skin. If you're super oily, it may not work quite as well for you, but I think that a lot of people are gonna like it. I find that it wears really well on my skin, even in summer in Houston. It has a nice pump with it. It's a glass bottle. It is pricier. This is the most expensive foundation aside from that Tom Ford on this list, and I think it's gorgeous and buildable. It has a great shade range, and I actually use this on my friend Sherry. She is in her late 60s. I did her makeup. I'll link the Instagram video that I did with her where I did her makeup and I put this on her, and it looks so good. So we're gonna bounce back between drugstore and high-end, so you're gonna stick around and watch the whole thing, right? So something that is very similar to the Armani Luminous Silk, but in a drugstore formulation. People are calling this product a dupe, but I don't think it is 100%, but it's in that realm. So this is the L'Oreal True Match Nude Hyaluronic Tinted Serum. This is great, again, for all skin types, but I feel like a lot of the people that have the drier skin are gonna really love this, but I will say I wore this in summer and it was so hot and it wore really well for me. I hate the packaging. And I also feel like it's kind of pricey for a drugstore foundation, but it's this dropper serum thing, which I don't like. I would prefer a pump with this, but the formula of this was really, really nice. I do think like the coverage is like medium buildable, so it's not this like super lightweight looking foundation. You can sheer it out, but it really does kind of build, so just keep that in mind. One foundation that I feel like is gonna work for so many people in so many different age ranges is this foundation, and I feel like nobody talks about it. It is so good, and every time I use it and I go back to it, I'm like, wow, this is so freaking good. This is the IT Cosmetics Your Skin But Better Foundation. This was such a great launch from IT Cosmetics. It has a really lightweight liquid consistency to it, but it looks healthy on the skin. It plays well with all sorts of primers. The shade range is really good in it. It's gonna work well for a lot of different people shade-wise, and then also it'll work like different skin types. It does kind of have the same sort of feeling as the Armani Luminous Silk, where it's like kind of radiant, but it's not. It's like a healthy look, but it's not dewy. It just settles down in this nice medium satin finish. You can build this up. It's such a wonderful foundation. I feel like so many age groups are gonna really like this. And again, I don't see a lot of people talking about it, but I feel like it's worth mentioning. If you haven't tried this, this is one I will continually recommend. If it's like, I just need a really pretty foundation, one that I can wear every day, or I can build it up and wear it full coverage, or I can glam it up, or just wear it like basic. This is the one. So good. Another drugstore foundation I wanted to mention today, this is not like the dupe for this, it's just we're bouncing to drugstore. This is one that I feel like nobody talks about, but it's so good. This is probably the lightest coverage out of everything that I'm mentioning today. And this is the Neutrogena Hydro Boost Hydrating Tint. So this one comes with like this doe foot applicator that you just apply to the face. I actually really like this applicator because I can just like swipe it on real quick. It's kind of like water-based. It feels super hydrating and light. Like this is the lightest weight feeling foundation I think you'll ever try. But it gives a nice little tint, light coverage. This is no SPF in it, but I do not rely on my foundation to give me SPF. I always use my own SPF, but it has like hyaluronic acid in it, so it's great for all skin types. It doesn't feel greasy. It just feels like a drink of water for your skin, but then it settles down into this like nice finish almost, like it's not greasy at all. This has been out for a while, and I feel like people have forgotten about this, and it's so good. So just, you need to trust me on this one. If you've not tried this, this is gonna be for those people who really want something lightweight, really want light coverage, something that they can just swipe on their face, blend in, and run out the door. This is gonna be amazing for that. Bouncing back to our high end, I wanted to mention this because I feel like a lot of people will really like this. There's just a couple of stipulations. This is the Nars new light reflecting foundation. This came out this year. This is one of their newest launches. When I first initially tried this, I was kind of like, but I noticed when I started doing really hydrating skin prep or a hydrating primer, right before I put this on, this looked incredible. My skin was feeling nice and plump and hydrated, and I put this on. Oh, it is so good. The only caveat with the Nars, this specific foundation, is the shade range runs pretty yellow. If you're more cool, fair toned, you definitely want to get a cool toned one. Even this is a cool, technically a cool toned one. This is in the shade Vienna. It does, as you can see, have that bit of yellowness to it that I can't. It's fine when it's blended out and then I get all the rest of my makeup on, but just be wary of that. This is great for people who want a nice glowy foundation, but doesn't want it to feel greasy. Okay, this is gonna work well for both oily and dry skin types, but I feel like the key with this one is to really make sure your skin prep is on point, like hydrated. If you are oily, you're probably not gonna have any problem with that, but if you're dry, you wanna make sure that you get like a nice moisturizer and SPF on before you put this on, or use a hydrating primer. So let's bounce over to the drugstore again, and I wanna mention this foundation that if you want just like the prettiest all-purpose foundation that you can build to full coverage and it's gonna last you really well, this is what you're gonna wanna try. This is the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Fresh Wear Foundation. This is the liquid one. I have worn this in Disney World in like almost summer months all day when I was like 8 months pregnant. Like I was super pregnant, and it lasted me super well. It's very similar to like the Armani Luminous Silk and like the IT Cosmetics, where you get this nice, I love a good lightweight medium coverage buildable foundation. Like that is my thing. And this is like that. You get this really lightweight feel. Like it feels very fresh on the skin, it's not heavy feeling, and then it dries down. It doesn't ever get greasy feeling, and then it wears so well throughout the day. So if you are oily or you live in a very humid, hot climate, you're going to love this. If you want something where you want to really go full coverage, you want to be glam, but you don't want to spend a lot of money, this is the one that you get from the drugstore. Like this is going to give you that beautiful satin finish. It doesn't lean too matte, it doesn't lean too radiant. None of these foundations I think are going to lean matte, because I feel like as we mature, we don't want to go too matte with our complexion, okay? So I don't really have anything matte in here. Everything's more satin. This is definitely a satin, natural, healthy finish, but it wears really well. You know, you can get this when you powder it real good. It can go matte if you want, or you can do some glowy stuff on top of it, and it can kind of be super flexible with what you do. So the last high-end foundation product I want to mention today is for those that want just kind of like a multi-purpose all-in-one product that's easy to use. You can use your hands to blend it in, run out the door. And this is the Ilia Super Serum Skin Tint. This I've loved for years. I didn't even think I was going to like it because I was like, this seems so greasy feeling when you initially put it on. I was like, what is going on? Why does this feel like so? And also people are very put off by the smell. To me, it smells like herbal, like medicinal to me. But just be aware if you're like very sensitive to smells. People are like, why does it smell so weird? Just be aware. I think if you're super, super, super oily, you're not gonna love this, but if you are really looking for something effortless and easy to use, this is great. I wear this in the summer and it does not budge on my skin, especially if I powder it. So I always powder a little bit because I do live in that humid climate, but I find that this one, and I'm not crazy about these dropper foundations, but you know, here it is what it is. It gives a decently good medium coverage if you want it to be. But you can just use the tiniest amount and put it on the skin. It also has an SPF 40 to it, niacinamide and squalane and hyaluronic acid. Again, do not rely on this for your SPF. Please use an additional SPF, because if you're just using the tiniest amount just to get a little coverage, that's just not enough. But this is beautiful. It's so pretty. It's so healthy looking. This is probably one of the dewiest ones. This and the Nars, I feel, are gonna be the glowiest of the bunch. This, though, dries down. And this one tends to get a little, like feels a little hydrated. So if you're very dry, you'll like it. If you're not, make sure to powder it. But I love it, I recommend it, and I think it's great. And the hype is certainly real behind it. Last but not least in my drugstore lineup is something that is $5 and is like magic in a bottle for me, and I feel like everyone who tries it ends up loving it. It is the Wet n Wild Tinted Hydrator. It is another product that I think you're probably sick of me mentioning. It's only $5. What do you have to lose at this point just to try it? Every time I mention this foundation, I bring this up, is that I hate the shade range. It is absolutely abysmal, and I think Wet n Wild really needs to focus on making some better shades and like expanding it a little bit more, because it is truly weird. But if you can get this to match you, or buy 2 different shades to kind of custom mix and get a good match, it's worth doing, because you're still only spending like $10 on this. It is the most beautiful, like light medium coverage. It's healthy looking on the skin, but it dries down and wears super well. Again, none of these foundations that I've mentioned today are gonna be ones that are gonna like fall off your face or just look, you know, they wear really well. Just like in my experience. Now, I'm basing this off of like what I've seen with feedback from my followers, and also just in my own personal experience as somebody that has normal skin and kind of can see, all right, well, if I have dry skin, I can see how this might suck. Or if I have oily skin, I think this might be bad too. I don't think I've gotten a single negative review from anybody who's ever tried this upon my recommendation. Just bottom line. And I had to mention it as my last one that I wanted to talk about. $5 magic in a bottle. I will link it the best price. Sometimes I find it like for $4, $3.50. Like it's just so cheap. But again, I hope you can find a good shade that matches you, because it is really hard. The shade range just sucks. It just sucks. So yeah, I know that's a lot to ponder, because I just talked about 8 different foundations, and then, well, 9 technically if we're counting the Tom Ford. But hear me out. I wanted to give you some options. Hopefully this kind of opened it up like, I want something that I can just throw on my face that's like medium coverage. You will love the Ilia. If you're like, I just want a foundation that I can wear glam, or I can dress it down for every day at the office. It Cosmetics. I need a drugstore foundation that's gonna look gorgeous and if I glam it up. Girl, this one, you know? I just need something that's super lightweight, that barely gives any coverage, but just like even out my skin tone. Boom, this Neutrogena. I wanna look glowy and dewy and just gorgeous. Nars. You know, like, hopefully this gives you some baseline to go off of. Of course, I can keep going with more foundation recommendations for us ladies over 35, but I'm gonna stop there today. So let me know in the comments if there's a particular foundation that you feel like works so well for your skin. I wanna know it. So leave it in the comments below and I will try it if I haven't already. So thank you so much for tuning in to today's video. That's all I've got for you today, and I hope to see you all in my next one. Bye!